When we talk about rebuilding muscle quickly, most people think about lifting heavier weights, doing more sets, or simply pushing harder in the gym. While training is essential, there's a key factor that determines how effectively your muscles recover, grow, and perform what you eat after you train. And today, I want to focus on one daily food that has a profound science-backed ability to accelerate muscle rebuilding. Your muscles are made of protein, but rebuilding them isn't just about eating protein. It's about the type, timing, and neurological signals that tell your body to prioritize muscle repair. When you train, you create micro tears in your muscle fibers. These aren't injuries, they're signals. Your brain and nervous system detect these mechanical stresses and send out a cascade of chemical messengers, things like IGF-1, growth hormone, and neural signals that increase the muscle's receptivity to amino acids. Here's where the daily food comes in: eggs, whole eggs specifically. Not just egg whites, but the yolk as well. Why? The yolk contains critical phospholipids, cholesterol, and fat-soluble vitamins that act as cofactors in repairing muscle tissue. Active. These compounds influence the brain-muscle connection by supporting the production of neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, which is essential for muscle contraction and recovery efficiency. Research shows that the leucine content in eggs, combined with the healthy fats in the yolk, creates a synergistic effect, a stronger muscle protein synthesis response than from isolated protein sources alone. Think of it this way: egg protein provides the raw building blocks, while the yolk provides the tools and energy system to assemble those blocks into stronger muscle fibers. Whole eggs have a unique ability to stimulate muscle protein synthesis far more effectively than egg whites alone because of the nutrient-rich yolk. When we think about muscle building, most people imagine protein as the main driver, and while protein is absolutely critical, the way that protein interacts with other nutrients determines how much of it is actually used for repairing and growing muscle fibers. Egg whites contain high-quality protein, rich in amino acids like leucine, which directly trigger muscle repair. But research shows that when you consume the protein with the yolk, the muscle building effect is significantly amplified. This isn't simply because of more calories. It's about the biochemical environment the yolk creates in the body. The yolk contains key nutrients like phospholipids, cholesterol, vitamin D, and fat-soluble vitamins A, E, and K2. These work synergistically with the amino acids in the white to promote more efficient muscle repair. The cholesterol in the yolk, for example, isn't just something that affects blood lipid levels. It serves as a structural component in cell membranes, including muscle cell membranes. When muscle fibers are damaged during exercise, repairing those fibers requires rebuilding the membranes, and cholesterol is a direct raw material for that process. Without enough cholesterol, the repair process is slowed. Beyond structural repair, the nutrients in the yolk influence hormonal responses. Resistance training naturally increases anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone, and the cholesterol from the yolk can help support the synthesis of these hormones in a healthy range. This doesn't mean eating eggs will spike hormone levels unnaturally. It means that your body has the necessary resources to maintain the hormonal environment needed for consistent recovery and growth. From a cellular signaling standpoint, whole eggs enhance the activation of the mTOR pathway, which is the primary switch in your body for muscle protein synthesis. While leucine, an amino acid found in the egg white, flips the switch, the presence of additional micronutrients and fats in the yolk creates a more favorable metabolic state for the process to continue effectively. This means the body isn't just starting muscle repair, it's sustaining it over a longer period after your training. Another overlooked factor is digestion and nutrient absorption. The fat in the yolk slows down digestion slightly, which might seem like a drawback if someone wants fast protein absorption, but in reality, it allows for a more sustained release of amino acids into the bloodstream. This prolongs the muscle's access to the building blocks it needs, which can be beneficial for repair and recovery over several hours instead of just a sharp spike and drop in amino acids. Studies have shown that when participants consume whole eggs after resistance training, their muscle protein synthesis rates are significantly higher than when they consume the same amount of protein from egg whites alone. This suggests that the yolk contains cofactors, bioactive compounds that work alongside protein to enhance its utilization. This is a perfect example of why isolated nutrients often don't perform as well as whole food sources. Nature tends to package nutrients in combinations that work best together. From a neurological perspective, eating whole eggs also sends signals to the brain that recovery resources are abundant. The brain monitors nutrient intake and adjusts how it allocates energy and repair priorities throughout the body. If the brain detects adequate fats, proteins, vitamins, and cholesterol coming in regularly, it's more likely to support growth and repair in muscle tissue rather than conserving resources for more essential survival functions. The synergy between the amino acids in the white and the nutrient density of the yolk is what makes whole eggs such a powerful food for muscle rebuilding. It's not just about hitting a protein target, it's about consuming the right form of protein with the right supporting nutrients to maximize the efficiency of muscle repair systems. Would you like me to move on and expand Keynote, No. 2 into 700 words in the same style? The yolk of an egg is far more than just a source of calories or flavor. It is a concentrated package of bioactive compounds that directly support neuromuscular performance and recovery. One of the most critical roles the yolk plays is in supporting the production of acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter that is absolutely essential for muscle contraction. Every single voluntary muscle movement you perform, whether lifting a weight, sprinting, or even maintaining posture, depends on the release of acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction. When you consume whole eggs, the phospholipids and cholesterol in the yolk provide key building blocks for maintaining and enhancing this neurotransmitter system. Acetylcholine is synthesized from choline, a nutrient found in high concentrations in egg yolks. Choline serves as the precursor molecule that your neurons use to produce acetylcholine. Adequate choline intake ensures that your motor neurons can continue firing efficiently, maintaining strong communication between your brain and muscles. Without sufficient choline, acetylcholine levels can drop, leading to less efficient muscle contractions, quicker onset of fatigue, and slower recovery because the neural drive to the muscle isn't as strong. For athletes or anyone training regularly, maintaining a steady supply of choline becomes critical, and whole eggs are one of the richest natural sources available. Cholesterol, another component of the yolk, plays a structural role in neuron membranes and synapses. Neurons rely on cholesterol to maintain their fluidity and responsiveness. At the neuromuscular junction, where the nerve meets the muscle, this fluidity affects how quickly and efficiently neurotransmitters like acetylcholine can be released and received. When cholesterol levels in the membrane are optimized through diet and internal regulation, the electrical signals that trigger muscle contractions travel more rapidly and reliably. This is one reason why removing the yolk, which is rich in cholesterol and phospholipids, can diminish some of the neuromuscular benefits of the egg as a whole food. Phospholipids, particularly phosphatidylcholine, are another key factor. These are compounds that form the structural framework of cell membranes, including those of neurons and muscle fibers. They influence membrane permeability, receptor function, and even the way cells respond to hormonal signals. In muscle recovery, these phospholipids are necessary for repairing the microscopic damage to muscle fibers caused by resistance training. But their role doesn't stop at the muscle itself. They also help maintain the integrity of motor neurons and the synapses that communicate with those muscles. A well-functioning neuromuscular system ensures that repaired muscle fibers are not just structurally sound, but also functionally stronger. From a performance standpoint, the availability of acetylcholine determines how powerfully and repeatedly a muscle can contract. During intense exercise, acetylcholine stores in the neuromuscular junction can become depleted. When you replenish choline and phospholipid resources through yolk consumption, you are essentially restocking the system so that it can perform at a high level again. This has direct implications for both recovery and subsequent workouts, as your nervous system's ability to recruit muscle fibers depends heavily on the efficiency of neurotransmission. It's also important to note that choline intake has effects beyond just muscle contraction. Choline is involved in methylation pathways that influence gene expression, including genes related to muscle growth and repair. This means that the benefits of yolk nutrients aren't just short-term, they contribute to a biochemical environment that supports long-term adaptation to training. Additionally, egg yolks contain fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D, which plays a role in muscle function by modulating calcium handling inside muscle fibers. Calcium is essential for muscle contraction, and vitamin D helps regulate how muscles respond to nerve impulses. This creates a synergistic loop. Better nerve signaling supported by adequate acetylcholine production leads to better muscle contraction, which in turn creates stronger adaptive signals for muscle growth, which are then supported by the nutrient density of the yolk. When you combine all these effects, the picture becomes clear. The yolk is not just a passive source of calories or nutrients, but an active participant in enhancing neuromuscular communication. The phospholipids and cholesterol create the structural and biochemical environment for neurons to communicate efficiently with muscles, while the choline ensures that the key neurotransmitter acetylcholine is readily available to trigger strong, consistent muscle contractions. This leads to better quality training sessions, improved muscle recruitment, and more effective recovery in the days that follow. Do you want me to continue directly with keynote no 3 in the same 700-word continuous style? Leucine is one of the most powerful amino acids when it comes to triggering muscle protein synthesis, and eggs are a naturally rich source of it. What makes leucine so important is its unique ability to activate the mTOR pathway, which serves as the central regulator of muscle growth and repair. When we talk about rebuilding muscle, the mTOR pathway is the biological switch that decides whether your body stays in a state of maintenance or shifts into an anabolic state where new muscle proteins are built. Without sufficient leucine, this switch doesn't turn on effectively, and the rate of muscle rebuilding slows down dramatically, even if you are consuming enough total protein. The concentration of leucine in eggs is particularly significant because it comes in a complete protein source with all the other essential amino acids. While you can find leucine in various protein supplements, its effectiveness is maximized when paired with the full spectrum of amino acids as found in whole eggs. The presence of these other amino acids provides the necessary building blocks once mTOR has been activated. Think of leucine as the ignition key that starts the engine of muscle repair, while the other amino acids act as the fuel that keeps the engine running. Without that initial leucine signal, the process doesn't start as efficiently, no matter how much fuel is available. Leucine's activation of mTOR is time-sensitive and intensity-dependent. After a workout, especially resistance training, muscle fibers are in a heightened state of sensitivity to amino acids. This is often referred to as the anabolic window, though research shows it is more of a several-hour period than a narrow time frame. Consuming leucine-rich foods like eggs during this period ensures that the mTOR pathway is triggered when the muscle cells are most responsive. This doesn't just improve recovery speed, it also enhances the quality of that recovery, leading to stronger and more resilient muscle fibers. Another key aspect of leucine's role is its signaling to satellite cells, which are specialized muscle stem cells involved in muscle repair and growth. When mTOR is activated, satellite cells are encouraged to proliferate and fuse with damaged muscle fibers, repairing the microtears that occurred during training and adding new nuclei to the muscle cells. This process increases the muscle's potential for growth and strength in future workouts. Without adequate leucine, this satellite cell activity can be blunted, limiting long-term progress. The advantage of getting leucine from eggs rather than isolated supplements lies in the nutrient synergy that comes from a whole food. The fat content in egg yolks slows digestion slightly, allowing a sustained release of amino acids into the bloodstream. This prevents a rapid spike and drop in amino acid levels, which can be less effective for prolonged muscle protein synthesis. Instead, there is a steady availability of leucine and other amino acids to support the repair process over several hours. In addition, whole eggs contain vitamins and minerals that support the biochemical reactions involved in protein metabolism. Vitamin B6, for example, is essential for amino acid metabolism, ensuring that leucine and other amino acids are properly processed and utilized. Phosphorus, found in the yolk, is important for energy transfer within muscle cells, supporting the high metabolic demands of muscle repair. All of these factors combine to create an environment where leucine can have its maximum effect on rebuilding muscle tissue. From a neurological perspective, consuming leucine-rich foods like eggs can also influence neural drive in subsequent workouts. The nervous system adapts to repeated signals of adequate recovery and muscle repair by allowing greater recruitment of muscle fibers during training. This means that the body not only repairs muscle more efficiently, but also becomes better at using that muscle in performance situations. Over time, this cycle of effective repair and improved neural recruitment leads to noticeable gains in strength, endurance, and muscle mass. The science behind leucine's role in muscle protein synthesis is well established, but what makes eggs particularly effective is how naturally balanced their nutrient composition is for supporting that process. They provide enough leucine to trigger mTOR, enough supporting amino acids to sustain muscle building, and enough complementary nutrients to ensure the entire recovery process runs smoothly from both a muscular and neurological standpoint. Do you want me to continue with keynote no. 4 in the same style? Healthy fats in egg yolks play a crucial role in regulating cortisol, the primary stress hormone, which has a direct impact on how quickly and effectively muscle tissue can rebuild. The cortisol is not inherently bad. It is essential for energy mobilization and recovery from stress. However, when cortisol levels remain elevated for extended periods, it begins to have a catabolic effect on muscle tissue, breaking down proteins and slowing the repair process. Managing cortisol is therefore essential for anyone looking to rebuild muscle efficiently, and the healthy fats in egg yolks are uniquely suited to help maintain that balance. The fats in egg yolks consist of a combination of monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and saturated fats, along with cholesterol. These fats contribute to hormone regulation by supporting the production of steroid hormones such as testosterone and estrogen, both of which play roles in muscle repair and growth. When these hormones are in balance, cortisol's catabolic effects are less pronounced. The cholesterol in yolks also serves as a precursor to these steroid hormones, ensuring that the endocrine system has the raw materials it needs to maintain a healthy hormonal environment. Omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, present in varying amounts depending on the hen's diet, also play a role in modulating inflammation. After intense exercise, inflammation in the muscle is a natural and necessary part of the repair process. However, chronic or excessive inflammation can lead to prolonged soreness and delayed recovery. The healthy fats in egg yolks help the body produce anti-inflammatory compounds that keep the inflammatory response in check, preventing it from becoming damaging or excessive. This allows the repair process to proceed efficiently without being slowed by an overactive inflammatory response. Cortisol levels are also influenced by blood sugar stability. Large fluctuations in blood sugar can cause spikes in cortisol as the body works to restore balance. The fats in egg yolks slow the digestion and absorption of nutrients, which helps stabilize blood sugar levels. The steady energy release reduces the frequency and magnitude of cortisol spikes throughout the day. For someone training regularly, maintaining this stability means less interference from cortisol in the recovery process and more consistent energy for performance. From a neurological perspective, stable cortisol levels benefit the nervous system as much as they do the muscles. The brain is highly sensitive to cortisol, and elevated levels can impair cognitive function, reduce motivation, and disrupt sleep, all factors that indirectly affect muscle recovery. Healthy fats in the yolk support brain health by providing essential fatty acids that maintain neuronal membrane integrity, improve neurotransmitter function, and support the production of hormones that counterbalance cortisol, such as serotonin and dopamine. Sleep quality is another area influenced by both cortisol and dietary fats. Adequate healthy fat intake helps support the production of hormones like melatonin, which regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Sleep is when much of muscle repair occurs, and anything that disrupts deep, restorative sleep will hinder recovery. By helping to stabilize cortisol levels and support hormonal balance, yolk fats indirectly enhance sleep quality, creating an environment where muscle rebuilding can occur more effectively. There is also a connection between dietary fat and the body's ability to absorb fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, all of which are present in egg yolks. These vitamins play important roles in muscle recovery. Vitamin D, for example, supports calcium regulation in muscle contraction and repair. Vitamin E acts as an antioxidant, reducing oxidative stress on muscle tissue after intense exercise. Vitamin K is involved in protein synthesis and tissue repair. Without adequate fat intake, absorption of these vitamins is impaired, reducing their effectiveness in supporting recovery. The interaction between healthy fats and cortisol can also be seen in the way the body responds to training over time. When cortisol levels are kept in check through proper nutrition, the body is more likely to stay in an anabolic state, prioritizing muscle repair and growth rather than breaking down tissue for energy. This balance allows for more consistent progress and reduces the risk of overtraining syndrome, where chronic high cortisol leads to stagnation or regression in performance. The inclusion of healthy fats from egg yolks in a daily diet provides a multifaceted benefit. It helps regulate cortisol, supports hormonal balance, stabilizes blood sugar, improves sleep, and enhances the absorption of essential vitamins. All of these factors contribute to a recovery environment that favors muscle rebuilding rather than breakdown, making the presence of yolk fats a key component of an effective muscle repair strategy. Do you want me to move on with Keynote No. 5 in the same detailed style? The daily consumption of whole eggs creates a consistent signaling loop between the brain and muscles that enhances recovery and improves neural drive over time. When you consume a nutrient-dense food like eggs on a regular basis, the body begins to recognize the repeated availability of amino acids, healthy fats, vitamins, and minerals needed for muscle repair. The nervous system, which constantly monitors nutrient status, adapts to this steady supply by allowing for more aggressive repair and adaptation responses following training. This is part of the brain's resource allocation system. When it perceives an abundance of recovery materials, It prioritizes muscle rebuilding instead of conserving resources for more urgent survival functions. The brain communicates with the muscles through the central nervous system, and this relationship is not static. The neural drive, the ability to recruit muscle fibers effectively during exercise, depends in part on the nervous system's confidence in the body's recovery capacity. Consistent intake of whole eggs helps establish that confidence. When the nervous system detects a steady presence of key nutrients like choline, leucine, vitamin D, and cholesterol, it prepares the body for repeated bouts of muscular stress by improving motor unit recruitment and coordination. Over time, this leads to better quality contractions and greater training efficiency. Regular intake also influences hormonal rhythms. Muscle repair and growth are heavily affected by hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, and IGF-1, all of which are supported indirectly by the nutrient composition of eggs. By consuming them daily, you help stabilize these hormonal patterns, which the brain then integrates into its recovery strategy. This stability reinforces the neural signals that maintain an anabolic environment, ensuring that each training session is followed by efficient repair. Another important aspect is how consistent nutrient intake impacts neuroplasticity related to training. Every workout is essentially a neural learning session. The brain and muscles learn how to perform movements more efficiently. This adaptation is enhanced when recovery is optimized. A daily egg consumption provides the building blocks needed not just for physical repair, but also for the formation and strengthening of neural pathways associated with movement. Choline, for example, supports acetylcholine production, which is involved in both muscle contraction and neural signaling related to skill development. The cumulative effect of this daily intake is a feedback loop that keeps getting stronger. The brain senses recovery is being handled well, so it permits harder training. The harder training creates greater stimulus for adaptation, which the body can handle because recovery nutrients are consistently available. Over weeks and months, if this repeated loop leads to noticeable improvements in both muscle size and function, neural drive improves not just in terms of strength, but also in endurance and coordination. As the nervous system becomes more efficient at communicating with the muscles, this daily consistency also helps avoid the dips in performance that can happen when nutrient intake is irregular. Skipping essential recovery nutrients for even a few days can reduce the nervous system's willingness to push hard in subsequent training sessions. By providing a reliable signal every day that the body is well resourced, whole eggs help maintain a high baseline of readiness. This means that even during heavy training phases, the nervous system remains confident in its ability to recover, allowing athletes to maintain high performance over longer periods without overtraining. It is also worth noting that the brain's regulation of muscle recovery is closely tied to energy balance and nutrient sensing mechanisms. Proteins and fats from eggs trigger satiety hormones that communicate with the hypothalamus, signaling that the body has sufficient energy and nutrients for recovery processes. When this signaling is consistent, the brain shifts away from catabolic, stress-driven states and toward anabolic, repair-driven states. This shift doesn't happen in an all or nothing fashion. It strengthens gradually with regular nutrient availability, which is why daily intake is more effective than sporadic consumption. Over time, this repeated cycle builds a strong mind-muscle connection. The nervous system learns to recruit more fibers efficiently and to recover them faster. This is one reason experienced lifters or athletes who consistently consume recovery supportive foods can handle more volume and intensity in their training. The brain and muscles are essentially in constant communication, with both systems optimized for growth and repair. Would you like me to continue with Keynote 0.6 in the same 700-word detailed style? Timing the consumption of whole eggs after training can significantly influence how effectively muscles absorb and utilize amino acids during the peak recovery period. After intense exercise, muscle fibers enter a state of heightened receptivity where they are primed to take in nutrients and begin the repair process. This window is created by a combination of factors: increased blood flow to the muscles, elevated enzyme activity related to protein synthesis, and a rise in cellular transport mechanisms that pull amino acids into muscle cells more efficiently. Taking advantage of this period by consuming whole eggs ensures that both the protein and the unique nutrients in the yolk are delivered at the exact time the muscle is most capable of using them. The protein in whole eggs contains all the essential amino acids needed for muscle repair, with leucine being the key trigger for initiating the muscle building process. When consumed post-training, the leucine content activates the mTOR pathway, signaling the start of protein synthesis. The presence of fats in the yolk slightly slows digestion, creating a steady release of amino acids into the bloodstream, which supports a prolonged phase of muscle building rather than a short spike followed by a rapid decline. This sustained availability is ideal for recovery because the muscle repair process does not happen in a single moment, but continues for hours after training ends. Nutrient timing also has a hormonal component. After training, insulin sensitivity in muscle cells is elevated, meaning that nutrients are more readily shuttled into muscle tissue. The combination of protein and fats from eggs taken within this period can enhance the anabolic response without causing large fluctuations in blood sugar. The steady energy released from the yolk's fats keeps cortisol levels stable, preventing the stress hormone from interfering with recovery. When cortisol is balanced and insulin sensitivity is high, the hormonal environment is optimized for repair. There is also a neurological reason why timing matters. Following intense exercise, the nervous system is in a state of adaptation. Neural pathways that were heavily engaged during the workout are still highly active, and nutrient intake during this phase can influence the way these pathways recover and strengthen. Choline from the egg yolk supports acetylcholine production, which plays a role not just in muscle contraction during training, but also in post-training neural recovery. Providing this nutrient during the recovery window ensures that the nervous system has the materials it needs to restore optimal neuromuscular communication for the next session. The concept of a peak recovery window is not rigid, but consuming eggs within a few hours of training aligns nutrient delivery with the body's natural repair processes. While the window does not close abruptly, there is a clear advantage to feeding the muscle when its demand for amino acids and other nutrients is at its highest. This is when the body's signals for repair are strongest, and the availability of key building blocks can have the most pronounced effect on recovery speed and efficiency. From a performance standpoint, taking advantage of this timing can reduce soreness, improve strength retention, and increase readiness for the next training session. Muscles that are repaired efficiently are better able to generate force and endure workload in subsequent workouts. Over time, consistently timing whole egg consumption post-training reinforces this advantage, creating a cycle where performance, recovery, and adaptation are all elevated. The benefits extend beyond just muscle fibers. Post-training nutrition also impacts connective tissues, tendons, and ligaments, all of which adapt more slowly than muscle, but are still influenced by nutrient availability. The fat-soluble vitamins in egg yolks, such as vitamin D and vitamin K2, contribute to tissue health and repair, supporting the structural integrity needed to sustain higher training intensities over time. Providing these nutrients during the recovery window ensures they are delivered when the tissues are more metabolically active. Hydration and electrolyte balance after training are often discussed alongside protein intake, but the fats and micronutrients in eggs indirectly support these processes as well. For example, the phosphorus in yolks contributes to ATP regeneration, which is critical for cellular energy during repair. Potassium and sodium balance are influenced by hormonal regulation, which is stabilized by consistent nutrient intake post-training. By consuming whole eggs at this time, you are not just providing protein, you are reinforcing a network of metabolic processes that all contribute to recovery.